this computer. All right, we're recording. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2018. Welcome to the Designing Destiny workshop. Now, this is a replay, a live replay. Danielle and I are back to go over the Designing Destiny worksheet, and we'll create our soul vision for 2018. Now, if you joined us last time, this is mostly going to be the same material, although I did add some things that I forgot last time about the eclipses. We have some major eclipses coming up, the first one January 31st and the next February 15th. So that's the eclipse vortex that we'll be sharing a little bit about today too. So that's an extra bonus for those of you that are joining today. Also, if you got the link to the PDF play sheet, definitely make sure you have that so you can play along. It's best to print it out if you can. If not, then just have a pen and paper, and you can get the PDF play sheet that was emailed out today, or it's also in the files section in the Radiant Astrology Tribe on Facebook. So I wanted to welcome those of you that are on Zoom with us and those that are watching live in the tribe. So, 2017, I saw so many posts online saying what a horrible year it was. But you know what? I think we can all find moments that we can have gratitude for. And so it's so important when we start setting our intentions for this next year, that we stay in that space of gratitude and hope and possibility, right? Because we know that as we are all evolving, that we do have a part to play in how things unfold in our lives. And even if things, we feel maybe overwhelmed by everything else happening, we still have our own responsibility. Our own will has been entrusted to us. And so that is what we have the responsibility to carry forward. What are we going to bring to this year? And what's the best of ourselves that we can really bring to this year? And so today we'll be talking about some of the major planetary shifts that are going to be influencing us. And, we can work that into our intentions, knowing that, we just always want to be open to the miracle of the mystery of life, right? So thank you again, those that are joining us. I wanted to definitely say a little hi to Daniela Veras. She's helping me out today. Say hi, Daniela.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining. How was your New Year's, Daniela?
It was pretty nice. I was just with family. And it's so funny. I'm so much more of like a full moon person than I am like a Happy New Year person. I'm more like, yay, happy super full moon. But it was really nice just to spend time with family, count it down, see the kids, the usual stuff. Yeah. But I had a great time. What about yours? How's everybody's New Year?
Oh my God. Yeah. Let's definitely share with us how your New Year went, if you'd like to, in the chat. I'll tell you, you know what? I watched that Dave Chappelle special, which was really awesome because it came out last night for those of us that are like in from the cold. And I will say it was pretty good. He got really like political and kind of inspiring. It was really, really interesting. So let's see. Let me share my screen. Let me see. You can share. Oh, let's see. I'll share my screen. And we can get started with the webinar. Again, you might want to have your PDF play sheet close by. Hold on one second. Is this the one? Yes, this is it. View full screen. All right. So again, welcome to the Designing Destiny workshop. This came about because I'm always getting people, obviously I'm an astrologer, so people want to know what's this year going to look like? What's in it for me? But really, as I said, we have free will. And with that free will, we have the ability to be creative with how our life unfolds. So we're all creative beings. You don't just have to be an artist with, a paint and a canvas. We can create and curate our lives. And I think that's so important that we realize as we go into this next year. And so in today's workshop, we'll discover the secret ingredient in creating change that inspires you into action. We'll explore the coming major cosmic shifts of 2018 and how to attune to the cosmic energies for inspiring change. And we'll create a plan for 2018 that will give you a framework for a new vision of your life using the 4-step method of illumination, envision, devotion, and destiny. Sounds good, huh? And we'll give you the details on the upcoming Co-Create Your Destiny course, a group course that starts next week, next Thursday, January 11th, and runs through March 1st. And it is an eclipse circle plus an astrology class plus a soul visioning course. So we have a lot to share in our upcoming course. So a little bit about me before we get started. I am an astrologer and a transformational life coach. I really feel that life coaching and any kind of counseling dynamic is so important and essential when you're sharing the wisdom of astrology. My full story is up on the co-createyourdestiny.com website, but I will share a little bit about my personal journey. Astrology has really been sort of like the linchpin to connect all of these parts of my life that I, had such a hard time sort of navigating, as I was coming up into the world and coming up into a career. Why did I have certain desires and certain drives that I didn't get from my family or I didn't get from society? And once I started seeing all of this reflected back to me in my astrology chart, I realized that, nobody knows how, but for some reason, our astrology chart within it is encoded our destiny, is encoded certain things about who we are, our blocks in life. And it's really a lifelong love for me. And anyone who's really opened up to the miracle of astrology and really seen what you can learn about yourself and your potential, there's really no stopping you when you can really use that to your advantage. So it's a great tool for wisdom, and I just am so passionate about sharing it. And Daniela, let me see. Can you unmute yourself?
Let's see.
I think you can this time. Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Oh, hi. Okay, so definitely I know we all have these really, really long stories, and just to kind of condense it into my journey with astrology in particular, I've been into astrology since, I don't know, so I was a teenager, and have really gotten really deeply into it over the last several years. It's kind of in line with Christina's story. I realized how much of my life was encoded within my birth chart, within the transit, showing what things were going on, what influences I had going on. And once I think the very first time that it really hit me was my first Saturn return. Anybody had a good time with that? Yeah, that was probably the first time I realized what a huge part astrology really plays, at least in giving me a heads up with the weather conditions, what things I may be experiencing. Because at that time, pardon my French, I thought I was screwed. I thought my whole life was ruined. I was like, what's happening to me? And then I found something, I was doing some research and found something on a solar return. And that's when I realized that, okay, I'm not screwed. It's just my Saturn return. And then I kind of knew how to navigate it a little bit more. I knew it would sort of be over at some point. And then I really dug really, really deep. And so from there, it's just become a very integral part of my life. I'm very, very passionate about it. You probably won't be able to talk to me for more than 2 minutes without me mentioning it. And I use it also as part of my practice as a creative insight journey coach, where I help people. Usually when they're interested in a class like that, they usually feel stuck in their lives, or they're not sure, about their purpose, or maybe they've been in a corporate job and they really want to shake things up. And so I help them reconnect with themselves, and having astrology as a tool to look at everything they have going on, what their soul wants to experience, what personality cues are in their actual chart. It's been amazingly transformative for me and for everyone that I'm involved with. So I'm just really, really excited, and I love astrology overall for what it can bring to the table, uncovering hidden gifts, all that jazz.
And the eclipse circles, right? I know.
Yes, this is my third one with you now. I'm really excited about that. And those circles, I know for me, for people that are involved, have been really amazing. And if you've never been involved in something like that, or if maybe you're very sensitive, or like it really helps navigate those shifts and navigate what potential energies are coming up, and have support around that. Have support where if you're thinking like, oh, I want to manifest this, one person manifesting, dope. 5, 10 people, amazing. So you have a whole like a super spiritual hype squad from around the world, which I love.
Awesome. We'll talk more about it later at the end. How about that? Because I know we could go on forever. We both love it. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's see. So 2018, here we are, right? And I'm calling it the year of transformative mastery. 2017 was, in a sense, an initiation, right? Initiation by fire, because there was a lot of fire energy. And so an initiation is when we're suddenly in our known world, and then we're in another world, it feels like. We don't feel at first like we have the skills or tools or capacity really to handle this new world, right? So many of us got battered and bruised because, a lot of things happening, unfolding so quickly, and figuring out with Saturn in Sagittarius what it was that we believed in, what were we willing to stand for. And now with this shift into the Earth energy, we've got Saturn has just entered Capricorn, and soon in May, Uranus is going to be entering Taurus. And so this is where we want to really start focusing on being able to stand and deliver, being able to know what we stand for. And that takes a lot of focus. That takes a lot of saying no to things so we can really give our all to that which is vitally important to our lives. And I just wanted to start with what the typical problem-solving model tends to be, right? When we're looking to solve a model and create goals for ourselves, typically it starts with identifying some type of dissatisfaction. Where's the problem? And then we go into studying the cause, looking for the source of that dissatisfaction. And then we start creating solutions for it, and then a plan of action. And the result is we could come up with some goals that sort of fix the past or correct the problem. But we have to remember that we're tapping into a dissatisfaction in order to solve our problems. And that really does not lead, studies show, to the most effective change. It does not tend to lead to the biggest vision of our goals, right? Because we're just looking to fix some problem. Now, it's not like that there aren't problems that need to be fixed or solved, but we want to look bigger and think bigger and have a clear soul vision if we really want to create change that's urgent and inspiring to our lives. And so don't just take my word for it. You can take the word of Carl Jung, the great psychotherapist Carl Jung. And this is a quote from him. He says, "The greatest and most important problems of life can never be solved, but only outgrown to a new level of consciousness. some higher or wider interest arose on the person's horizon. And through this widening of view, the insoluble problems lost its urgency. It was not solved logically in its own terms, but faded out when confronted with a new and stronger life tendency. So when we're looking to create a vision for our lives and goals around them, we really need to look for a new horizon, right? And if we want a new type of life, we can't come from the place of, the old, right? If we want to create a new, we have to have something that's going to inspire movement forward. And so this here is an image of, okay, you're going to have to help me again, Dr. Emoruto, I forgot his name, but the Japanese doctor and researcher that he spoke into like glasses of water, and there were different phrases. Some of them were very loving, like "you are beautiful," "I love you," and really loving words and phrases like that. And he looked down to the very minute cellular level, and he got these gorgeous, like sacred geometry imagery from it, from how the water was reformulating itself. And then they did the same for negative words and negative phrases. And I wouldn't even print some, I wouldn't even share some of those images, because you got like these horrific shapes, and the water would turn brown and things like that. So we need to remember, we can always, every moment, we can return back to peace. We can return back to harmony. We can return to a sense of love within ourselves. And that's so important now, when we can feel limited. We can feel like life is a burden sometimes, because we've got all this earth energy. Sometimes, it does feel this sense of stuckness. And in order to get beyond that, the only way out is through. And the best way to get through is to do so in a way where we feel pulled forward, rather than like pushed from something we don't want, but pulled toward that which we do want and we want to create. So the inspired vision model begins with illuminating the inspiration, thinking about, when did I feel my best? When was I at my best, doing my best, being my best? And tapping into that sense, because we all know what it feels like to be touched, moved, and inspired. And from that space, we envision the dream. Having a clear vision of what we do want is so much more motivating than running away from what we don't want, right? We need to have a pure vision. Not even, how to get from here to there. That's not the envisioning part. The envisioning part is simply visioning. What type of a world are you committed to living in? And then comes the sacred devotion. When we know that we have something that's calling us forth, then we can devote to it. And devote in a way where it says, my soul is making this commitment. And then every single decision we make from there comes from the space of sacred devotion. And then from there, we can create our destiny in a creative way. When we can feel uplifted and inspired, then it gives us the ability to start taking positive, inspired actions toward our goals. And so as a result of the inspired vision model, we get inspiration fueling a clear vision while embracing the mystery of destiny. Once you know you have the vision and you fully accept that the universe will start to shift things in order to fulfill that vision, then you need to leave space. You must leave space for the universe to do its magic, to come to rise up to where it is you've said that you want to go and what you want to have and be. So the formula, again, for effective change: illumination, envision, devotion, and destiny. And we'll play around with this a little bit so that we can start to formulate the areas of focus for our 2018. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with looking at what is it that we want to start creating. And so in the illumination phase, the first question we ask ourselves, when were you at your most inspired? And this will take dropping into your body and you know, remembering and sensing, how did it feel in your body when you were touched, moved, and inspired? What did that say to you about yourself? You know, when you're feeling so great like that, what words come to mind that you say to yourself about yourself? And then how did you feel about your circumstance once you felt so inspired? What does that tell you about who you are and what you're doing? And feel free to, you know, be writing down some notes. Feel free to share with us in the chat box. And if Danielle, if there's any comments around this that someone would like to share, definitely go ahead and chime in. But for now, we'll go ahead and move forward. So feeling our most inspired in our body. And now we move on to envisioning. If money were not a concern and anything was possible, what would be the greatest vision of your life right now? And it might help to think, who is with you? Where are you? You know, what are your days like? And we want to use positive statements only, like I am. I am is one of the most positive, powerful statements in the English language, right? It's high vibrational. It's the statement declaring I am. You know, so when you envision, I am at peace, I am in joy, those types of phrases. And just having a clear vision, what does it look like, you know, for you to be living this great life of yours? Okay, and we will continue on. So now with your sacred devotion statement, what I cherish most is, what is it that you most hold dear right now? And just go ahead and just write down what the first thing that comes to mind. And then the magic I'm creating in the world is thinking about what's the magic, your special magic you're creating. And the next one, what sacred devotion means to me is, all right, so when you cherish something and you know your magic, then what does it mean to be sacredly devoted? And again, you don't want to think too much, really let your intuition guide you around these. Okay, so from that space, what are your top 3 priorities for 2018? Right, I think it was Peter Drucker who said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any priorities. So thinking about what are these 3 focus areas we want to focus on, even if it's just today for this exercise. Putting down those 3 focus areas. And then we'll get back to those, but this will be in your PDF play sheet where you can create, you know, the whole vision for the rest of the year around these 3 focus areas. So go ahead and share in the chat box, or if you're watching on the Facebook group, anybody wants to share their 3 focus areas. For me, I would say mine is creativity is the biggest focus. My focus also is business, is creating a business around that. And my third one is health. I feel like this is the year where I want to get my health together. That doesn't mean there aren't other things that can't sort of come in and out, but these are the 3 areas of focus that I'll be playing with for my soul visioning. Daniela, do you see anyone sharing their focus areas? Okay, I'll take that as not right now. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So destiny. Now this is a definition I got from the dictionary online. I think it was dictionary.com or something. The predetermined, usually inevitable or irresistible course of events. So isn't that interesting? Irresistible really stood out to me. I wasn't really expecting that. I know in destiny, the way I conceive of it is, yes, there is a certain amount of it that is predetermined. But to me, fate is almost like, you know, something was already going to happen and there's nothing we can do about it. For me, with destiny, if we're on the right track, we're going to have a different destiny unfolding depending on what decisions we make and also what our intentions are, you know, moving forward, how we respond to life. All that can help us to mold our destiny and design it and create with it. And so here we go. Now, for some of those of you who are really chomping at the bit for some astrological insight, we've got some of the major 2018 cosmic collective influences. I mean, there's always going to be, you know, planets doing all kinds of things. What I wanted to do for this exercise is focus for each quarter of the year, you know, just to sort of give us some framework. What are the most important cosmic shifts? So when a planet enters a new sign, we definitely see we see it in the world. We sense a shift within our consciousness. Quarter one, Saturn in Capricorn, which recently happened just before the winter solstice. Quarter two, Uranus in Taurus. As I said, Uranus is going from, both Saturn and Uranus are going from fire to earth. So that's significant this year. Quarter three, I chose Mars retrograding in Aquarius. That's a fairly rare transit, and we'll talk about what that means. And then quarter four is the good news of Jupiter going into Sagittarius. So luckily, I do have good news this year. And so we will look at what these mean. And if you want to follow along in your play sheet, you know, you can, what we'll do is look at each of these influences and how will they affect our focus areas, right? So for quarter one, we've got Saturn in Capricorn. And it's going from Sagittarius, which was a fire sign, where we were declaring our beliefs, declaring what we believe in. Declaring our political associations, declaring how we feel about foreigners and things. And then we're moving to doing the work to create our own reality. So we're moving to Earth. So it's like all that we said we wanted, the type of world we said was acceptable to us, what we said was fair and right. Now is the time to actually say, you know, what can I do to move forward? You know, as I've been thinking, all this outrage, you know, a lot of people have been saying they're exhausted from it. And that's fine as long as that outrage has turned into conviction, you know. And so knowing that what we do, where we put our money, where we spend our time, you know, that makes a difference. All of the things real in the world, how are we going to really create a world that's to our vision? Some of the key words for Saturn in Capricorn is commitment. So Saturn, you know, has that ring around it. Saturn wants you to put a ring on it, wants you to commit to something. And every moment we're actually committing to something, right? But how can we be more consistent with our word and committing to that which we want to create? Saturn is also in Capricorn is also about maturity. You know, we're all maturing in a certain way, like as we become masters of what we do, say for a living or whatever we're dedicated to, you know, we enter different phases of maturity. And so just thinking about how you can bring more maturity into your experience. It's also about building strength. Saturn is known for finding our weak areas and putting pressure on them so that we grow stronger. And as Daniela was saying earlier, you know, that Saturn return at about 29:30, everybody tends to know it because that was a time where you had to be strong. You couldn't be a baby anymore. And so this year we'll all, in some sense, get to know Saturn and Capricorn, building our strengths and taking responsibility. That's the big key word for Saturn, is responsibility. Where have we been irresponsible? Where have we maybe promised too much and delivered too little? Now is the time to be more conservative about what we promise, but making sure that we deliver on those promises. And so as you can see, Saturn in Capricorn is through, 2020. So this is a long-term transit. But in Q1, we'll especially start to feel it. So when you look back at your 3 focus areas, looking at Q1, this first quarter of the year, how can you bring more maturity into those areas? How would you bring maturity into, whether it's your business or your relationships, or, as I said, health? Where can maturity, commitment, and responsibility be brought into those areas? And you can fill this out in your play sheet, anytime, if you have time, if you want to do it now. But looking at these areas as an opportunity of growth. And so actually one of my favorite books, business building book, is called The Dip by Seth Godin. And he says, never quit something with great long-term potential just because you can't deal with the stress of the moment, right? So that's Saturn and Capricorn speaking right there. That's about commitment. And even if it feels heavy or tough, commitment really is what creates mastery. And this is the chart for the dip. So whenever we start something new, right, we get a lot of results for a little effort in the beginning, right? Because we have low expectations usually. And we think, oh, this is great. Oh, I'm doing so great at this. And then the more we go, we eventually reach the dip where it feels harder. It feels like there's more effort, less results, right? Very much something we tend to see with Saturn and Capricorn. And from what Seth Godin says, is this is where most people give up. Somewhere in the dip. They're not getting the results. It's too hard. It's not fun anymore. They're not the new exciting kid on the block or whatever. So they quit here. And, sometimes it's right to quit there. Maybe that's not your path. But if you do feel this is your calling, this is part of your vision, then if you make it beyond the dip, this is where you get to be the best in the world. This is the rarefied air that most people don't breathe because they quit already in the dip. What Seth Godin also talks about is strategic quitting. Quitting all those things that you are not completely committed to being the best in the world at, in order so that you can give your time and energy to those few things that are very important to you. This is very essential to understand during Saturn and Capricorn. I highly recommend getting this book. It's only maybe 40 pages or something. Very thin book. Very concise, but it is a reminder. We can do anything, but we can't do everything. And that's what Saturn teaches us. Where can we focus and commit? So Q2 of this year, a big shift is Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus is the great awakener, right? And it's moving from Aries, the fire sign, into Taurus, an earth sign. And that happens May 15th. So it's going from the collective rebellious fire, all of these, we see it in the Brexit. We saw it in, the Women's March. We saw it in Black Lives Matter. We saw it in all of this collective energy, fire that fueled this need for pushing for change. And then it's moving into Taurus, which is about a tangible, it's again, tangible. How can we make tangible change in the world? And Uranus is about innovation. Maybe there's ways that we are going to have to innovate to heal our earth, right? To heal all that we've done to it, because it's critical time. And so just thinking about in our own lives, Uranus and Taurus is about awakening. The shift is going to be from the fire of awakening to a more grounded sense of awakening in our lives. And Taurus also deals with our possessions, how we make our money, which comes down to things like our talents, our self-worth, and ultimately our values. Our values are going to shift. Maybe we'll finally really value the earth, excuse me, and realize that it needs our attention, focus, and time. Maybe we'll find that we have to break through the stuckness. That's what Taurus can tend to do, is making us feel stuck. And Uranus coming through there, anyone with Taurus planets is going to have a shakeup, some type of freedom, some type of liberation from what is stuck, right? So we're going to see this all over, probably, no matter what type of business you're in. You may have to get some skills, some new skills. The whole big Bitcoin blockchain trend, astrologers are saying that's the Uranus and Taurus thing. Most of us don't even know what that is or like how to use it. But we're going to have to learn these new skills around money and resources and values. So when you think about your 3 focus areas, where can you bring a breakthrough? What is stuck? So your relationships, what is stuck? What needs to be shaken awake? Your career, your health, whatever. The thing is with Uranus is it is really about, moving into a whole new space. And it's the element of surprise too. So there's not much we can do about predicting what Uranus is going to bring us. But we do want to always be ahead of it. That's the thing, is if when we can see Uranus coming, we can say, all right, I have to open to change. I mean, I had that myself when Uranus was coming onto my IC, the cusp of my 4th house of home. I did not want to move where I was at, but I knew it was happening. So I just opened up to the newness, the excitement of it. Uranus wants us to be awakened again and excited about new possibilities. So that's a really good time to tell yourself, get out of the stuckness and get up, start catching up to the future. Quarter 3 is Mars retrograde in Aquarius. Now this is a shorter term transit. The other ones were, multi-year transits. This one is just going on through June 26th to August 27th. And of course there's shadow on each side. But Mars retrograde, Mars is our drive. It's our instinct. It's what helps us get out of bed in the morning. It helps, it's going to get what we need in the world. When Mars goes retrograde, we can suddenly have a shift in our desire, in our instincts, especially men, who are very Martian, or anyone who tends to be very, Aries or Scorpio. And so Mars will be in Aquarius, and Aquarius is about, revolutionary energy. And so Mars retrograde is about refining and reorienting our goals. Now, there might not be a lot that you can do to plan ahead for like seeing what's wrong, because you'll know more during that time. But this is a good time to just start thinking about, especially if you have, like I said, planets, if you've got Aries or Scorpio, those are both ruled by Mars, or planets in Aquarius. You want to start to look at that period of the year. There can be some shifts. There's going to be some refining needed. You might need to reform or revolutionize some area in your work in a way, or in your life in a way where change is needed, but it's kind of like going back to the drawing board, responding rather than being the first to react. This is a time where, I'm kind of seeing it as like taking the pedal off the metal a little bit, because you really need to revise things in order for you to be able to move forward, right? So this helps us to just really look at what the energy might bring to us during that time, even if we can't fully see it. So when you look at your 3 focus areas, you know, looking at that areas as, again, time to review. Anything with retrograde is a read, right? And with Mars, it's about doing. So redoing, refining, reforming, and revolutionizing. Those will be your keywords for your focus areas during the Mars retrograde. So quarter 4 is Jupiter in Sagittarius. Now, that's a 1-year transit. It starts November 8th. And I really think this is like the best news of the year. There could be other good ones, but you know, Jupiter this whole year is still going to be in Scorpio, in deep dark Scorpio. So, you know, all of this sexual harassment scandals and things we've been hearing, we've a lot of astrologers have been attributing to that to Jupiter and Scorpio. Because that's those dark hidden things. And so we'll still have that most of the year. However, at the end of the year, Jupiter returns home to Sagittarius. And so we'll get that uplift again, that hope, that expansiveness, that inspiring, you know, hope for the future. So Jupiter will be going from revealing the hidden darkness in Scorpio to exploration and opportunity. So Jupiter is expansive, explorative. It's about higher learning and your belief systems and what you have faith in, right? And Jupiter is visionary. So as much as we have, you know, we can create a vision, everything this year and start really aligning with it, we have another opportunity near the end of the year with Jupiter and Sagittarius to take a breath again, you know, and to start fresh again. So I really like this, this transit. So if you've looked at your place sheet, make sure that, you know, what you want to do is, again, get a little more solid on your 3 focus areas and looking at those areas where you have opportunities and looking at the energy from each quarter and saying, how can you infuse, for instance, some more maturity for quarter 1, for quarter 2, you know, breakthrough stuckness. Quarter 3 is sort of revolutionizing, redoing. And then quarter 4, again, is expansiveness, right? So this helps us to get a feel of what this year may bring to us. Now, again, the beauty and the magic of astrology is how it works with our personal astrology chart, right? So if you need an astrology reading, you can always order a reading from me at radiantastrology.com. But to play around with your goals and your vision, you know, this gives you a really good sense of what the energy will be like for these quarters we've got coming up. Okay. So before I go on to the rest, let me see, do you see any questions, Daniela?
Not yet.
Oh, no one's question. Okay, so but people are chatting in the chat box, it looks like.
It's just me.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I guess we have some people maybe still hung over from okay, so I must have barreled through that. Julia says a little bit. I must have barreled through that. We could hopefully get finished a little early. If we don't have questions, what I would like to do is look a little bit at, let me share my screen again. We'll look at the eclipses coming up. Okay, so I gave you this whole picture of 2018, of the possibilities of 2018, right? And what I think is really wonderful are the eclipses. Eclipses are so special because they are aligned with the nodes of destiny, my favorite D word, right? And so when we're creating a soul vision, the eclipse periods can really bring an opening to accelerating that which we feel we want to create in the world, who we want to be in the world. And if we are awake and aware to these changes, we can really make the most of it. You know, during eclipse periods, a lot of people that don't know what's going on just feel out of sorts. They don't know what's going on. Some, you know, they're confused between the past and the future and things like that. But what's really great is when you can contemplate what the eclipse means and know these sort of like intense periods are coming. And this is why I create these eclipse circles every eclipse season. The first one this year is coming up. The first eclipse is January 31st. And the second is, you know, they're pair eclipses always, will be February 15. And this vortex that's created between these eclipses, January 31st and February 15, is really, that's sort of usually like the heightened energy time. Now, this January 31st one is very potent because it's a super full moon and it's a total lunar eclipse. So a lunar eclipse is a full moon, and this one is a total one. And it's at 11 degrees Leo, right? So Leo is about how we shine, where we shine, how we can align with our special destiny. And it's about finding courage in our lives, courage to be who we know we want to be. I really find these amazing times of, you know, messages coming through about like where your greatest gifts can be of service, how you can be more creative. Leo ultimately is about creativity, play, risk, romance, things like that. And then that'll be followed February 15 with the solar eclipse at 27 Aquarius. So, you know, last time we were talking, Daniela, about, you know, the ripening of that great American eclipse that happened in August, right? That happened right over our country here in the US. And wow, it's been insane since, right? With all of these natural disasters, actually. Now, the meaning of those eclipses tends to take some time to mature. And so this February 15th eclipse is the pair to the August one, right? Because it's exactly opposite, which the one before in August was at 28 Leo. This one's at 27 Aquarius. So it's going to be like a mirror reflection of that last eclipse. That's also part of the same Saros cycle. So there's the same eclipse family. So we really want to be looking at February 15 eclipse as, you know, looking for the messages from the last eclipse. And, you know, and just really looking at what were some of those subtle messages coming through during that August eclipse. I know for me, I spent some time with, interestingly enough, some retired people, some like parents of some friends of mine. We went to go see the eclipse. And there was this one couple that they had a beautiful life. They raised some wonderful children and everything, but they also, I felt like they almost kind of gave up on their dreams of being creative people, of being artists, actually. And they were fine, you know, they were happy. They had a gorgeous home and everything like that. But there was something there that felt like a sort of emptiness. And then I met up with a friend's mother who I had just met, who had lived a life. She was a psychiatric nurse, and she loved her work, and she's retired now, but she still does it just out of love for it, like maybe once a month sees a client. And to me, the message there was, wow, you know, I don't want to live a life where I don't feel like I'm still giving and I'm still really interested in what I'm doing and passionate about it. You know, I would love to come to my later years and still have something that I know I'm good at and I love, you know. So that was my particular message. And so I'm going to keep myself open to any other messages around that. So that's the beauty of these eclipses, is when you can really contemplate, what do they mean for you in your life? And, you know, how can you check back in with yourself to see, am I on the right path? Because we ultimately are responsible for what path we choose in life. And that's what these eclipses can help us to see. So this is why I always do a women's eclipse circle. And we love you men, and I know there's some really amazing heart-centered men, but because of the nature of, you know, the feminine experience, for now these eclipse circles are just for females, because there's so much healing we still need to do, healing of the mother wound, healing of the sister wound, and creating spaces where we can come together and really witness one another and support each other. And so this Co-Create Your Destiny course is about soul visioning. It's also learning astrology, but it's also using the power of the eclipse period in order to create and heal and support each other. And so I'm calling it, it's the astrology of destiny for visionary women. And I don't know what it says, the community there, but it's a community of us. And Co-Create Your Destiny is an immersion into creating and living your soul vision through the astrology of destiny and the alchemy of eclipse season. And we're going to learn all about not only the eclipses, but the astrology of transformation. We're going to go deep into Pluto and Pluto's metamorphosis potential. We're going to go deep into Neptune and how Neptune can really help us envision the life that we really, our soul wants to live through us, right? The soul has its own life, and we're either going to get in the way of that or we can allow that to be expressed in the world. We're also going to talk about Uranus and the Great Awakening and the brilliance of Uranus in our lives. And we're going to look at Vesta, which is the sacred duty. It's keeping the sacred flame alive in our lives. And so it's a 7-week course. I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
No, it's okay. I'll let you get through with that. But we do have one question in the chat box when you get a chance.
Okay. So, well, is it associated with this? You want to read it to me?
Not with the course yet. If she's having some more specific questions relating to her chart, but we can do that at the end.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, Co-Create Your Destiny is a 7-week group online course. So we'll be in a Facebook group. We'll have a Google Classroom. We'll be creating our vision forward. We're going to be looking at the destiny encoded in our birth chart. So everyone's going to have like the guidance of their birth chart, and I'll help you through that. And we'll deeply explore the planets involved in the process of transformation and embody their metamorphosis. As I said, I had just mentioned those planets. And it will expand our capacity to trust ourselves and our higher purpose, as well as be embraced by a sacred circle of support where miracles can unfold. And there's always miracles happening in these groups. They're absolutely amazing. I just love them. And I'm offering a very special offer. If you're watching this now, if you pay in full within the next 48 hours, I will gift you, which one of my, actually, this is my most popular service, a 2-hour past life session, which is an evolutionary astrology reading and a guided meditation and an energy clearing that I do that's valued at $275. And so that would be your gift if you pay in full in 48 hours. So go to the co-createyourdestiny.com website, and you can get all the details there. I have the full list of the modules and everything in the courses, and you can take a look at it on the website. Okay, so let's see. We have a question. Let me see if I can look at this. Oh, did you answer it already? I don't see a question. Oh, it's in the chat. So you have Jupiter at 27 Aquarius. Oh, and Uranus at 20. So wow, that's interesting. Okay, so the question is, I have Jupiter at 27 Aquarius and Uranus at 27 Leo. What might this illustrate evolutionarily? So you natally were born under a Jupiter Aquarius opposition. And any opposition, first of all, a lot of times it shows up in relationships. It shows up in how we relate to others, right? And of course, it depends on what these rule in your chart and everything like that. But there's something there about the expansiveness and the evolutionary quality of relationships. You have a lot of learning and growth potential. Both of these planets have a lot to do with growth potential of relationships. You know, Leo is the planet of, again, that special destiny, and Jupiter is about connecting to something greater than oneself. You know, so this is definitely a signature of always being aligning to, you know, the forward momentum of the collective. And so definitely I would be looking back at how that August eclipse affected you, maybe the change that happened because it was on your Uranus. And then this time, the possibility that's this expansiveness. Now, Jupiter just grows things. It can makes things bigger, you know, right? And for better or for worse, it just simply expands things. And sometimes it can feel like too much. So for this eclipse season, that's going to be right on that there. You know, where are you, do you feel valued enough in your relationships, how you relate, not even just to one-on-one, but these are also collective signatures. So are you feeling that, you know, you have support to be special? Is your specialness being supported by your community? Is it being seen? This is really important for you to be seen, right? And so from an evolutionary standpoint, it's like your soul is here in this life. It said this life is time to move forward. You know, it's like keep moving forward, keep growing, sharing yourself. Do not hide. I mean, again, I don't know the rest of your chart, but I can see that it's saying you have something that needs to share and disseminate. And so definitely, yeah, so these eclipses can really bring up some very important lessons for us because they're on the Leo Aquarius axis. Leo is my special destiny. What makes me special? Aquarius is what's good for the whole, right? I think of Gandhi because Gandhi had, he actually had a lot of Leo, believe it or not, even though he didn't seem like someone that, I mean, he had a Leo moon and Leo North Node, but he ultimately wanted to do what was great for all, right? It wasn't about him, but he had to step up, even though he was like mute as a child. He was so shy. But he had to share his voice and step up because he knew there was something that he could do that was great. And so there is a little message of that for all of us with this Leo Aquarius axis. Okay, so we're not done yet. We're almost done, but I did want to remind everyone that we are doing 5 days of destiny. So today was the big one, right? We sat through an hour-long webinar and you got the pitch about the Co-Create Your Destiny, which I do hope you'll join. This week, every day at 1 o'clock, I'll be doing a series on 5 days of destiny. So we're going to continue the conversation on creating our soul vision. You have your 3 focus areas. You know, you can change them if you want, but always tap back into what feels so the most inspiring. What would be an inspiring vision, a clear vision, you know, that I can say, I want to create, you know, this in the world, and I want to feel this way, and I want to be this person when I'm doing it. And so every day at 1 o'clock, join me in the Radiant Astrology Facebook tribe, and we will keep the conversation going. Let me see, tomorrow is, let me just see, what did I have listed for tomorrow? If I can, yay. 5 days of destiny. Okay, tomorrow is your soul origin story. We're going to look at what is the soul origin story. Where did we come from? And we really want to start with our Pluto. So if you know your chart, you can check out your chart. Where is Pluto by house and sign? And what does that say about where our soul came from? Pluto is the soul through many lifetimes, not just this one lifetime. So we'll look at our Pluto signature and we'll start sort of envisioning where did we come from so we can know really where the soul's intended path of evolution is taking us. All right. So, Daniela, do you have anything else before we sign off with this awesome group?
No, I'm just super pumped about tomorrow, about Pluto. It's my favorite.
I guess Pluto's been good to you, not to me.
I'm a Scorpio, and
Oh,
and I have Pluto conjunct Jupiter, so it's kind of been very central. Like I've kind of used to the energy, so I enjoy it.
okay, awesome. Yay. So we'll see you tomorrow. And make sure that you signed up for, the PDF worksheets, because I'll be sending another one for um, tomorrow's Day of Destiny. You want to make sure that you're on that list. All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. Happy 2018. And I look forward to designing more destiny with you.
Everybody.
Let's see.